Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June 22nd, 2016 edition, landmark episode number 69 of Balls Deep Sports Talk. I am your host with the one and only Scotty Ball. Thanking you as always for finding your way to the show this week, whether it be via SoundCloud, YouTube, or my personal favorite, the free Spreaker app. Thanks as always for tuning in. We have got plenty of sports to discuss as always for you, but before we do that, we get our quick shameless plugs out of the way. If you have not done so yet and you are a fan of what we do here on the show each week, please connect with me on social media, for crying out loud. I'm on Facebook. If you prefer Facebook, search Scotty-Ball. If you're on Twitter, I'm also on Twitter at BDST Show. It is a great way to not only be in touch with me personally about what's going on in the sports world, but also a way to give me your feedback, your comments, your suggestions, your critiques, all that good stuff. So again, on Twitter at BDST Show, on Facebook, search Scotty-Ball. Now, if you can't tell, I am in a very, very good mood because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it is our landmark, historic 69th episode of the show this week. And I gotta be honest with you, a year and a half ago when I started the Sports Talk show, I always hoped that one day on Balls Deep Sports Talk, I would get to 69. And thanks to you and thanks to me, we made it. Here we are at 69 together. So let's enjoy it, and we're going to try to equally give as much as we receive here throughout the show in the spirit of the episode. And let's get underway because we don't have a whole lot of time to waste. I'm crunched as always this week. So let's get to the outline of what we've got coming up on this week's show. I'll let you know right now it is going to be very heavy on the recap side of things with a little bit of preview thrown in there. We will definitely be discussing how the NBA Finals played out, and unless you live under a rock, you know that the Cleveland Cavaliers, behind the great LeBron James, won in 7 games this year's NBA championship, breaking an over 50-year sports franchise championship drought in the city of Cleveland, about as big as it gets for the storybook. So we will definitely be discussing how that played out, what happened and why, and where teams go from here. We'll maybe take a quick peek at the NBA free agency wire, as there are some big names already possibly going to be finding new teams here before next season. We will be discussing tomorrow night's NBA draft. That's right, the draft for the NBA is tomorrow night already, and my and possibly your Minnesota Timberwolves currently hold the 5th pick. There is all kinds of intrigue and anticipation of what they will do with it, if they will trade it for a veteran, if they will use it to draft some size or to draft a point guard or, outside shooting, all these needs we have. You will be getting my, not complete, because let's face it, nobody cares about the NBA draft after about the 10th to 15th pick, unless it's your team picking. But we're going to go through at least those top 10, top 15 picks, let you know who's all picking where at least throughout the first round, and give you, like I said, my best idea of, who's going to be going where or who should be going where. I'll give you both what I expect to happen and what I would do personally if I were the GM, and that involves our Minnesota Timberwolves. I have a very juicy trade that I am not only going to propose, I am going to boldly predict. So stay tuned for that. And that's not the only basketball we're going to discuss. Oh no, we will be discussing women's NBA as well, because my and possibly your Minnesota Lynx just the other day beat the then 11-0 undefeated LA Sparks to extend their record-setting 12-0 start to an all-time historical best 13-0 start to the season for the Minnesota Lynx. So we will be checking in on their remarkable success here to start this season on their quest for a back-to-back championship in the WNBA, and we'll also take a quick peek at the league standings. While we're at it, we will discuss a little bit of NHL hockey. We've got the NHL hockey draft coming up this weekend as well. That starts Friday and I believe goes throughout Saturday and possibly even into Sunday. But I know it's at least a 2-day event, if not the 3 days like the NFL. And there's also a new NHL expansion franchise that is going to be playing its games within the next couple years, and we'll give you the heads up on that as well. We'll check in on Major League Baseball, see how mine, hopefully not, but maybe your Minnesota Twins are doing. They actually won a football game against Philadelphia last night by the score of 14-10. Granted, it was the Twins versus the Phillies, and they were playing baseball. But nonetheless, we will check in on the Twins as well as any other news, standings, things like that in Major League Baseball. We'll take a quick peek in at the NFL. Not a whole lot going on right now, but there is a very exciting and entertaining and fascinating, provocative, and maybe even controversial interview on VikingsDigitalDiaries.com conducted by yours truly, as I do every week, with the one and only Jerry Ball. So maybe we will discuss just a little bit of that in our football segment. We've got PGA golf to discuss, as last weekend had the U.S. Open, second major golf tournament of the year for the golf season. And boy, there was all kinds of unpredictability and drama. And when it was all said and done, a young superstar who we've been waiting on to emerge and break through the ceiling finally got his first major win of his career. I will let you know who that is, how that happened, and where we go in the golf community, golf world here from here for the rest of this season, hopefully moving forward even beyond that. Maybe a little bit of UFC news, a little bit of soccer news possibly, as there are two major tournaments going on right now, some Copa Americana thing or something, and then also the UEFA championship over in Europe as well. So we I don't know, maybe we'll peek at soccer, but hopefully we won't have time for that. And then, of course, as always, we will talk some professional wrestling, especially this week. The world of professional wrestling has been just flipped upside down and spun around, and if you are a pro wrestling fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've got all the insanity that went down at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for WWE this past Sunday to discuss, as well as some real-life star news involving a very large, a very big, popular, polarizing at the moment star getting his first ever 30-day suspension. So let you know who that is and what we know about that. Very juicy. Let you know what we know about the upcoming Battleground pay-per-view, some returns, and also the official brand extension, brand split draft announcement that they shared on this past Monday as well. We were off by a day, I want to say, or maybe a week. We were off by a day or a week on when it was going to happen. And then maybe we'll check in just a little bit on Lucha Underground 2, even though it was not Ultima Lucha Dos tonight, as I could have swore they had advertised multiple times. That is still to come yet, unfortunately. But so we will have plenty of pro wrestling to discuss as well. That's what we got on the docket, sitting on the docket of the Bay for our historical, epic, landmark, once-in-a-lifetime episode number 69 of Balls Deep Sports Talk. So now that you know roughly what we're going to be talking about on tonight's show, let us get to the hit opening segment. Say it with me, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Balls on fire. What has got me, yours truly, the one and only Scotty Ball, the most on fire, fired up, heated up, hot. That's what we're talking here. Could be positive, could be negative, but it's got to be spicy. It's got to be fiery. And as always, there are more than one worthy candidates here on the list. But really, we're narrowing it down to big stuff. We're narrowing it down to pro wrestling first off, because it was huge. The world of pro wrestling has been flipped upside down since last week when we talked. Had my special guest, WWE Pro Wrestling expert guru extraordinaire, the one and only Doug Sanders, in to help us talk wrestling last week. So could very easily go pro wrestling, could very easily go United States Open golf. As you know how much I love golf, we try to give priorities to championships here. It's a big championship, and it had all kinds of drama and suspense and controversy and whatnot. Could start with our 13-0 WNBA Minnesota Lynx. They're just, like I said, it's the best season anyone's ever had so far to start a WNBA season. But alas, what I am genuinely the most fired up about is NBA basketball, and we're putting balls on fire into two parts. So we've got the left ball and the right ball here on This Week for Balls on Fire. The first ball that we're going to start with is the NBA Finals, because it's one of the best, most historic, memorable, unforgettable NBA Finals of all time. So we're going to start out breaking down the NBA Finals. But then, like I said, there's another ball that's plenty on fire that's NBA basketball related too. So when we're done talking about the Finals, we're going to move over to the right ball that's on fire, and we are going to have our mock draft and discuss what teams, and primarily the Minnesota Timberwolves, should be looking to do here tomorrow night during the draft and entering this short NBA offseason period, how they can best improve the team and get closer to their goals of hopefully being a playoff team as soon as next year. That's what we're hoping for. If it takes one more year after that, I think we'd all be okay, so long as we saw a good amount of progress in this coming season. But make no mistake, we got the talent where we should be. The expectation should be, from the Minnesota Timberwolves standpoint, to compete for one of the 6, 7, or 8 playoff seeds, one of the bottom playoff seeds next season already. So we will discuss what they can do in this upcoming draft and in the free agency and via trades to make that happen. So that, yes, basketball, men's professional basketball, 2 separate topics are going to co-headline, co-ball this week's edition of Balls on Fire. So I am sorry, fellow Minnesotans, because here in Minnesota, I feel very... I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I'm definitely in the minority when it comes to being an enthusiastic professional basketball fan. Basketball of any kind, for that matter. Men's, women's, professional, collegiate, whatever. Basketball fans are hard to come by here in the state of hockey, being the state of Minnesota. But alas, I'm hoping at least, that I have listeners in other parts of the country and possibly even in other parts of the world that do give a little bit of a rip about basketball, and maybe 3 of the 17 Minnesotans, other than myself, who enjoy basketball, are fans of the show as well and listening. So, that's what we're doing. We're going basketball, double barrel, double ball basketball here for Balls on Fire to start out this show. All right. This past Father's Day Sunday featured an NBA Finals Game 7 for the ages. To recap, we'll set everything up. Golden State took a 3-1 advantage or lead in this series after Game 4 in Cleveland. Now, no team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals to win. But as fate would have it, after Game 4, everything swung to the favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers, beginning with Draymond Green getting suspended and having to miss Game 5 in Golden State, which is when the Warriors should have